What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing well. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Appreciate you coming back. So, with the season coming up in a few days, I figure we talk about something very controversial and something that needs to be thrown out in the wind. And that is why this season rests on Daniel Jones' shoulders. Why he is the X factor of the New York Football Giants in 2024. So I got three main points backed up by scenarios / what has happened over the past few years with Daniel Jones and his surrounding pieces to back up my point on why this season falls on Daniel Jones. So is Daniel Jones' shoulders. So let's get into it. Number one, the situation is the best it's been for Daniel Jones. Now, his best offensive lines probably 2019 and 2022. 2022 was a 20s ranked offensive line, but they were very good at run blocking and decent at pass blocking. 2019 was his rookie year. You kind of had some things confused because he was a guy who held onto the ball a lot, and Nate Solder was a horrible left tackle. They were like an upper 20s ranked offensive line unit, but this is the best talented unit that the Giants have put on the field for him in his career. Andrew Thomas, an all-pro left tackle. You got John Runyon, who they signed from the Packers. He is a premier pass blocking guard. You got John Michael Schmitz, who is still shaky. Still shaky. We have to see what he looks like throughout the season. But next to him, you got a proven guy in Greg Van Roten, who had a career year last year with Carmen Bricillo, and the guy next to him who's going to be playing right tackle in Jermaine Ilminor. This is the best offensive line he has had in front of him. And with that said, this offensive line's probably not going to be worse than last year's unit. It's not like, okay, there's decent pieces and you have a horrible line coach. It's not going to happen because Bricillo is known as an O-line guru. He believes in developing guys, and this is a talented unit, much more than the last few years. On offense, you added Malik Neighbors and Theo Johnson to the rest of the guys. Malik Neighbors, we know who he is. Theo Johnson, we know who he is. Improved defense. Now, I don't think the defenses have been like James Bettcher bad, but they could use improvement in terms of statistics, in terms of output on play. 2022 was better than 2023, but 2023 they did a lot of saving ass as they did in 2022, but they did have some more, explosive plays, giving up struggling moments, etc., etc. So I think personally, the way this defense looks with Shane Bowen and the personnel added, that they'll win more games than it's going to depend on the defense to lose games. Just because of the way this team is offensively. And this is just, my opinion in terms of the offense and who's heading the offense in Daniel Jones. And also, let's put this in perspective. Malik Neighbors and Jalin Hyatt, I'm looking at those two guys, and also you could add in Theo Johnson before we go to the next point, is they depend on Daniel Jones. This is a very, very important but obvious point to put out there. Malik Neighbors can't get 1,000 yards by himself. Jalin Hyatt didn't get a touchdown last year. He needs one. He needs many touchdowns to continue his development. Wan'Dale Robinson, we saw what he was last year. A little spicy guy, a little spicy small guy in the slot. Well, he needs the ball fed to him. And you really can't use the O-line or the wide receiver core or the defense as an excuse to say, oh, Daniel Jones doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. We move to the second point, which is Brian Daboll coaching for his job and Joe Schoen's job possibly being on the line. Now, in the press conference, they did get testy. I think they're starting to feel the heat a little bit because there's a few reasons. I think maybe there was an increase of pressure on the hot seat. I don't know that they're on the hot seat. I don't think they're on the hot seat too much, but if the Giants are not a competitive team this year, I don't think they'll have another year, and then we'll be doing the same shit we've been doing the last few years. But let's look at it from a couple of different perspectives and a couple of different aspects, things that have went on. They didn't pick a quarterback. No Penix, no McCarthy. They weren't in position to get a top 3 quarterback. They also failed to pick up proper backup and competing talent. Now, if you asked me, Alex, who's done better at the job, I would say Brian Daboll has, because there's been subpar talent in here. Joe Schoen has not hit on his draft picks most of the time. And Brian Daboll has had to scoop that shit up and make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Now, this team shouldn't have won 6 games last year, but did because of Brian Daboll. And I have many issues with Brian Daboll and things that he's done in the past, his coaching decisions, whatever. But just note that they didn't get a quarterback and they didn't get proper backup competing talent. Because look at it this way. We saw what Tommy DeVito was last season. We saw what Drew Lock was in the preseason. If Daniel Jones goes down with an injury or he's benched, let's face it, the Giants' season is over. It is done. Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in the room, but how much does that actually say? Drew Lock has failed to win games in his career. You could argue talent around him, whatever. And Tommy DeVito's a third string in the NFL. Now, something also to think about. Let's just say Daniel Jones, I don't know, maybe he gets benched. Maybe he doesn't get benched, but he doesn't play good enough. And the Giants are forced. I don't see Daniel Jones putting the Giants in a position that they, win 3-4 games. I think they win 6-7 games because that's what the Giants have done the last few years. They haven't been bad enough to pick a quarterback or be in the top 3, but they haven't been good enough to be a playoff team. So it's that mediocre stage, quarterback hell. Do you want this regime, Daboll and Schoen, picking a quarterback in what could be a lame duck year, and that quarterback may not be the best quarterback because you didn't lose enough games to be up there in draft position, and maybe you don't have the draft capital to move up. So would this be a Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy situation? You really don't want that. Same thing you could kind of say for Mike Maccagnan and Todd Bowles, right? We remember what happened there. The last year of that regime, they picked Darnold, and then it was the Gase era, and then where is he now? He is in Minnesota. Why did I forget that? I have no idea. But also you have to take this into factor. John Mara's emotional investment. He obviously is heart-struck on the fact that Daniel Jones went to Eli's camp, quarterbacks, all this other stuff, the mimicking of Eli. He is Eli's heir, or was supposed to be, and then there was not enough talent around him. John Mara felt bad. All the other stuff, the emotional investment and input towards this quarterback on the basis of not the success of the team, but being fair to Daniel Jones. Now, say what you want, but it has disparaged this team a little bit because they gave him $40 million in a contract after a playoff win, which he did help, but he wasn't the driver of the train. I would argue it's mostly coaching and defense that did it in 2022. That's just my personal opinion. You guys are free to disagree with me. But it would make John Mara upset or angry, whatever emotion, if Daniel Jones doesn't work out because he didn't want to trade up for a quarterback. He said that on Hard Knocks. He was happy they gave him the contract. And again, we know how John Mara feels about Daniel Jones. Number 3, probably one of the more important ones, but not as important as 2, is Daniel Jones' career is on the line. Now, the Giants have an out in 2025, supposedly. They could cut him, be done with it. The Giants would have to find some other plan again. So, Daniel Jones probably would land a backup job in the NFL, right? Because he was a first-round pick, because he got the $40 million. I don't think he would be totally blackballed from the league or never play in the NFL again. I think he would either be a starter for a really bad team or be a backup for a team that's okay or bad or good or whatever. But Daniel Jones, if you're him, you want to continue starting in this league. You think you're a good quarterback. You think you're one of the best, whatever his mindset is. And if he does not put the stats up this year, with all of these factors, Brian Daboll taking over the play calls, there's more of a passing emphasis. Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson added to the receiving core. You got a fresh O-line. You got a new O-line coach to coach those guys up. If you don't succeed in this situation and have a better year than 2022, it's hard to think that you're a starting quarterback in this league, because at the end of the day, if you can't win with this type of talent, how much talent do you need around you to succeed? Because guess what? Geno Smith, Dak, and Derek Carr, $40 million around that mark for each guy as of right now. Dak has definitely thrown over 20 touchdowns in the last few years. Derek Carr has, and so has Geno Smith. Daniel Jones has not thrown over 20 touchdowns since his rookie year. And guess what, folks? It's a passing league. Yes, you take a minus with Devin Singletary because that is a downgrade from Saquon Barkley. But at the end of the day, it is on Daniel Jones' shoulders, being the main captain of the offense, and to drive this team to the playoffs, or else it's not going to be good. Like, comment, subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Do you think Daniel Jones is the legitimate X factor? Do you think there are more factors in what this season could be? Let me know in the comments section. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.